etc. Common law is distinguished from Roman law. I repeat, common law is distinguished from Roman law. Common law is distinguished from the modern civil law and distinguished from the canon law and from other systems of law. The common law is that body of law and justice theory which was developed and formulated and administered in England. And keep in mind that England is a part of Iberia. And Iberia, and that ancient principle, comes from Muslim law. And so you're talking about Queen Dodo, and you're talking about Nefertiti's daughter, etc. You're talking North Africa. So you got to put that in perspective with the reconstructed, or what is known as reconstructed history of Iberia, now known as Europe, history of Europe. So you're talking about the Picts, the Moors, and the Dubs, all of whom are Africans. So see, the Renaissance initiated in Spain and in Italy, and its influence upon Europe during the 14th to the 16th centuries. Common law is distinguished from law created by the enactments of legislatures. The common law comprises the body of those principles and rules of action relating to the government and to the security of persons and property, which derive their authority solely from the usages and customs of immemorial antiquity. Immemorial antiquity. Or from the judgments and decrees of the courts recognizing, affirming, and enforcing such usages and customs, and in this sense, particularly, the ancient unwritten law of England, which logically is from ancient Iberia. So you're going pre-Inquisition, because it's ancient. That's why when you read law books, it says ancient and modern when you go into dictionaries. Common law is distinguished from equity law, as it is a body of rules and principles, written or unwritten, which are fixed and immutable authority, and which must be applied to controversies rigorously and in their entirety, and cannot be modified to suit the peculiarities of a specific case or colored by any judicial discretion, and which rests confessedly upon the custom or statute as distinguished from any claim to ethical superiority. This is based in the ancient principle of African culture, where the honor of your mothers and your fathers are related to your heritability and to your rights of your land and your estates, etc. And therefore, the common law is based on customs and traditions of your ancient mothers and fathers from time immemorial, distinguished from Roman law, which has been operating at North America under a color of authority and exercised with owners and beneficiaries and fiduciaries and trustees doing business as the corporate United States of America, which was dissolved in 1861 and is in fact defunct, but has been resurrected and has been operating unlawfully on the land since 1861, and those processes have continued to this day without most of the people of the land being aware that the whole platform of operations of the states of subsidiary franchises are in fact criminal operations, and this is and was and is the sources of all of your wars and all of your poverty and all of the fake platforms of genocide that have been hidden and veiled under the fake race and prejudice platform, which is a fake platform created by three-letter agencies who have been still exercising Inquisition Bulla operations of Unum Sanctum, Dum Diversus, Intercatera Divina, etc., against the Aboriginal people of the land, the true Americans, the copper complexion people, disguised under other fake terms, etc., and continues to this day. However, for the sake of those Moors who do honor their mothers and fathers and who intend to be active and not passive, will speak up and tell the truth to themselves, to the people, and to the imposters who have been pretending to be Americans, and who have been pretending to be legitimate government, but in fact who have actually been entertaining and exercising false judicial powers and civil powers on the land in violation of international law, and actually have been on a genocide campaign against the people, the natural people of the land, with both their nominee gear, straw man constructs, their bottomry instruments, whether you're talking about the marriage licenses, the driver's licenses, the birth certificates, etc., which have been bolstering their stock market, particularly since 1862, commonly known as U.S. Treasury bonds, etc., which have caused problems in the treasuries of all the nations of the earth around the world today. And in truth, except in a few past instances, has not been challenged by the people, but now you start seeing it take place. And I'm saying to you that this has much to do with the politics that you see taking place around the world, with the economic collapses going on with these criminals known as the United States Corporation Company, that are defunct and are still exercising under de facto and color of law operations. That's where all your economic problems have their origin, and that's where they are, and those people are your problem. Now, that's the truth. That's the record. And so your original article, Amendment 13, was covered up with what is known as your 14th and 15th Amendment. And this is why you do not see that in the history books or in your social studies books in the school systems, because the Satanist organization set up, known as the General Education Board, 1902, by John D. Rockefeller and Frederick T. Gates, promoting animal husbandry under the guise of education, have deleted it with the support of and the help of de facto operators pretending to be Congress and Senate of a de facto political platform which was dissolved in 1861. And here we are with the problems that they have created, and usually arguing the wrong arguments with the wrong concepts. Now I'm going to read page 10, and then we'll take some, conversation. Because you have to know some of this history that has been hidden from you in order to even understand some of the things that you see active Moors doing that have been misrepresented by a de facto press operating in the name of the United States, etc. Consular. A consular is a minister. As for the consular, and about some details about his or her political position, authority is given affirmatively, and see that such established law and due process remedies are observed and applied in matters of the nation's citizens. And so the consular authority includes his or her responsibility to keeping abreast with and assuring that diversity rules are observed and maintained, and that such case claims, transcripts, or other related documents are secured for the record, and that all reports are made to their superiors. This helps to preserve the integrity of the law. And the consular assures that proper law measures and proper jurisdictional classifications are maintained and carried into force, etc., within the various venues of the laws that govern nations, constitutions, treaties, and international law treaties. Likewise, are instruments that are binding upon all government officials, binding upon their assigns, binding upon their employees, and binding upon their contractors, etc. And one must always remember that a treaty is the established law of the land, just as the constitution of the nation is. And thus all treaties are conjoined as one with the established law of the land. So when you're talking about Treaty of Peace and Friendship, the treaties of the United States with the Moroccan Empire, those obligations and duties are preserved and are enforced. And the fact that you have de facto criminal hybrid Europeans who overthrew the Republic in treaty with the United States and with Morocco, operating at North America, have been creating and committing criminal activities, particularly since 1861, and have accelerated as the decades have gone by. Nevertheless, the obligations still exist, and the only way that the Moorish Americans lose their nationality is by agreeing to be naturalized under that 14th Amendment fraud that has been promoted by all your fake Negro marching, praying civil rights leaders, pretending that they were bringing people of African descent, the true copper complexion people of the land, into the political platform of an occupying force that was not only criminal, but has been dissolved politically, but yet they're still operating. So you must understand that, and you must understand original Article Amendment 13 declared that descendants of Africans can never be U.S. citizens. So you can dump that on every front. And for those fraudulent persons, people, men and women among our own, who have been promoting that we are U.S. citizens, etc., they know that they've been lying, and I've just shown you the congressional records to prove that. It's never been a secret, however, it's not been taught. And of course, I've been teaching this stuff since 82 in general, and most of these are my notes from 84, 85, compiled, etc. And even when this was put together, a lot of my original manuscripts was actually edited out, because I already knew that I would have opposition. And I also knew, due to the patterns in reading the congressional records, particularly when I went into congressional records and looking at the history of American religions, and looking at the history of the Moorish Divine and National Movement and the infiltration made by three-letter agencies into the Moorish Divine and National Movement, and the compromises that were made and not being told to the people. Some of you who are in the temples of the Moorish Science Temple of America hear about the great sell-off, but you notice that the people never give you political details. I just showed you some of them, and that's not opinion. That's the record. And then a lot of people who are taking positions in the Moorish Divine and National Movement and the Moorish Science Temple of America has actually been some of my greatest critics and trolls, who always knew this information, but they knew if they taught this, many of them would be exposed for the traitors that they are. But I also want to say this to you. I commend the brothers and sisters in the Moorish Science Temple of America or around the land who have maintained a sense of integrity for the original cause and purpose of the Moorish Divine and National Movement in support of our illustrious Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and the enforcement of that Constitution, although it's been breached by persons and people and corporate entity operators on a constant basis. And I suggest for those of you who have limited information about the illustrious Prophet Noble Drew Ali to read and do the research on what is known as one of the established documents of purpose and cause, and it's known as the warning by the prophet for the nations, etc. And you will see within that document, established document, the cause for the movement, and you'll see it's harmonic with the enforcement of the Constitution. And of course, when you know the true history of the evolution of the Constitution for the United States, you already know that those principles go far beyond that, and they're actually ancient. Not only are they fatwa and come from Moorish law, they're aligned with allodial principles and not with the feudal abuses of the people that you have been experiencing. And the fact that many people who claim to be conscious pretend that they don't know that part of the major movement of the Moorish Divine and National Movement is the enforcement of the Constitution for the United States, which would include the treaties, etc., and all obligations and duties of persons claiming to be authorities for the United States are enforced, and that has never changed. So I wanted to present that because I see a lot of people being confused when you see hybrid Europeans operating for the defunct United States corporation, and their corporations had actually been converting people's right to travel into crimes in violation of treaty and constitution, and in violations of obligations that already exist. But it also shows you that they have no authority to be operating on the land, and yet that continues. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So what you do, the people of the land, the true Americans and nationals, and the people who have been loyal to the treaty and Constitution for the United States, there's your duty and your responsibility to enforce that Constitution, knowing that these people are de facto, and to stop pretending that you don't know that they're operating de facto. That does not excuse any improper activities by any more, etc., for they are obligated by treaty and those principles that pre-existed, etc., in Muslim law, which you'll see from the Honesty Confederation, or you might call Equa Confederation, that was adopted for these operations for judicial civil powers to be executed under a constitution at the Maghreb, etc. That is no secret. And also the established ancient principles of the Renapi tribes in the area of Shakamaksan, where the republic's standard of government or Capitolium was established. That would be Shakamaksan, which you know is Philadelphia area, and that remains the fact to the day. And just because the hybrid Europeans left the platforms, the people of the land or the true nationals don't leave the platform, because we're the people of the land. So just because they violated, that doesn't excuse you, and that does not throw you off your political obligations, nor does that remove the obligations that was established by treaty and by constitution. Therefore, is the obligation of the nations of the earth legitimate to aid the Aboriginal Americans, enforcing those principles behind that Constitution, to remove all the genocidal operations and the criminal operations of the impersonators operating on our land at North America, pretending to be Americans and creating all these problems around the world at Midgard under the guise of the United States of America, the defunct corporation, which has been dissolved by their own hand. For a moment, I yield the floor, accept some questions.
Okay, well, I'll just ask this question because I saw it. I believe there was a question. Would you explain what fatwa means?
Fatwa means law. And so when you Like if you're reading in the international Creole trade language, you would know as English or Anglais. So people's concepts that English is belongs to the hybrid Europeans is false. It's actually Creole. It's a mixture of languages of the world, and it's actually a trade language. So when you're talking about English, you're talking about um, international African Phoenician trade linguistics, etc. It's made for trade. So fatwa comes from divine law, what you call hermetic law, based in moral and ethical trade principles. So fatwa means law.
Excellent. Been plenty of comments, some good and some very negative.
Well, I can expect that. I mean, it's like this. Let's look this way.
I'm gonna respond to someone. This one that I put somebody in timeout. Now their response is by blocking words who ask questions. Sad but not surprising. I should have blocked this one person a long time ago because what they're not asking questions. They're being divisive in the chat, and so
that's expected.
Yeah, they're being divisive. You're being divisive, and if you're sad and not surprised, you should be surprised that I haven't blocked you altogether. So you can take yourself off, or I can block you because you're divisive. You know you are. You're not asking questions. I don't have a problem. We don't have a problem with